Everyone, how are you? Welcome back. It's time for another very important YouTube video about Destiny stuff. All right. So something that's been going around, making the rounds a little bit that I've been seeing online that I wanted to sort of talk about because I am, while I may not necessarily be playing Destiny every day, I'm still very passionate about the game. So something that's come up about an activity that I will admittedly say I don't engage in, which is Grandmaster Nightfalls, because yikes. But you know, Grandmaster Nightfalls, especially when we're dealing with something like this week, where there's a very RNG based encounter. You know, you never really know if you're gonna get booped into oblivion. You never really know if the boss is going to decide to end your run for no particular reason, and it sort of exacerbates one of the primary issues that I think a lot of people feel with higher end content, and Grandmaster Nightfalls being a piece of high end content that is designed to be farmable. It sort of really puts an edge on it. So here's what I'm saying. Even though rewards are more common and consistent among Grandmaster Nightfalls, there's been requests from folks among the community to have some sort of deterministic rewards that happen no matter what. You know, rewards that come out from the Grandmaster Nightfall that really do make it feel worth it. Because the last thing that you want to do is run a Grandmaster Nightfall and get a subpar reward. So this actually goes back to a problem that Destiny has, I'll say, almost always had, and I think it's a problem that a lot of games that have RNG-based rewards have, and that's, like, how do you build that reward loop so that something's challenging and it's designed to make you want to re-engage with it via the rewards, but how do you do that in a way where it isn't a one-and-done kind of activity? So to go back in time, to hop back to the time in Destiny where once a week you could run the Vaults of Glass and you could get Ascendant Shards, Ascendant Energy, or maybe some gear. You know, you had one shot every week at sort of making your character more powerful. Now, this could have been a limitation of the engine at that point, or dev time, or, you know, just a first iteration of a system. There's a lot of things that it could have been, right? But that's the part of Destiny. That's when I started playing. That kind of made me fall in love with it, because I was like, oh, this happens, and then I do this, and then, like, I can put it down, right? Like, you know, I didn't like putting it down, but there was other things to do. I'd go farm planetary materials, or I'd run strikes, or whatever, and just sort of kind of gather information about the world, or engage with, oh yeah, level up my weapons and armor, you know, so much other stuff. So a lot of those systems that ran side by side at the beginning of Destiny aren't really there anymore. So when I say that, we do have back a long-term progression system in Destiny 2. It's in your artifact. Thumbs up. And that and that's dope. That's exciting and that's fun. But it isn't as sweeping as every single piece of gear in your inventory needing to be powered up, right? Like, you'd get a raid drop and then you'd go into the world and make it stronger. I kind of really liked that system because it gave you something to do during the week, or it gave you something to do while you were killing time until the next reset where you had a chance at new power. And of course, that new power also came with the responsibility of leveling the gear. Now Destiny is primarily a loot-focused game, which means what you are getting out of strikes and what you are getting out of Grandmaster Nightfalls and raids, or anything that's farmable right now, well, it needs to feel really valuable, because after you've rolled the dice on all of those things, there's not much left. You know, if you've gotten all your pinnacles and you're chasing power, you can continue to play and you can grind other gear, but that's it. and I understand that we're like riding the edge of the problem here, but I'll just come out and say it. The lack of horizontal progression in Destiny is kind of the touch point of this. So after you've gotten max power and after you've gotten gear after you've gotten max power, you have the option, but not the necessity, of going to find perfect pieces of weapons and perfectly rolled gears, and that's all an option. But if you happen to have most of that stuff, or if you're seeking to be a completionist and sort of run an event until, you know, you have reached the power that you're looking for, that's when the problem starts. So you have someone who's engaging in Grandmaster Nightfalls. You have somebody who's engaging in like raiding every week or whatever. But the reality is, you know, that person is seeking like a terminus, an end to their progression. And so you're wanting to get maybe good rolls on exotics, maybe good rolls on gear, maybe good rolls on whatever. But in order to get that, you need Ascendant Shards or materials that come out of the Grandmaster Nightfall. I think having the Grandmaster Nightfall have guaranteed rewards at the end of it always would be a good idea. And here's why. Unlike raiding, where there's this chase, right? Like, you're doing the raid because you're trying to get all the gear and you're trying to whatever. You're trying to finish your exotic catalyst, but even raids fall into depreciation after a while, unless they're just knockout fun, right? You're like, okay, well, I have everything from that raid, so I'm not really interested in running it anymore. The Grandmaster Nightfall is different. That is going to be an access point for power progression on all of your characters, finishing out your gear, reaching that completionist status. So I think that the Grandmaster Nightfall, because it is somewhere that endgame PvE is happening, and it's not like a raid where it's endgame PvE to get gear, it's endgame PvE to finish your progression. And just like Bungie has kind of respected your time investment when it comes to the level on your artifact, I think respecting the time investment of the people who are kind of running the Grandmaster Nightfalls by giving them guaranteed rewards, like, you're going to get this no matter what. And I realize it says common and all this other stuff, but having a set of rewards saying, like, you're going to get 3 Ascendant Shards and 1 exotic every time you run this son of a bitch. I think that kind of deterministic reward system would actually maybe even increase the amount of people interested in doing that. Because I'll be honest, I'd look at the Grandmaster Nightfall and I go, not for me. I don't know if I care that much. But for the people that do, I think that getting to a place where, you know, they truly are enjoying, you want to play it as much as possible, and there's a really solid time in, time out component of what's happening. On this in particular, it also makes it something to work toward on the reward hierarchy. Being able to participate in a Grandmaster Nightfall and being able to finish it every week, along with having, like, you know, the really awesome other in-game stuff, like the titles, the Conqueror titles and things like that. You're saying, like, hey, are you an endgame PvE player? Are you really trying to max out all of your gear? Well, here is the perfect path for you to do so. And you can set it up. You can be like, look, you need to run this 20 times to max out all of your gear. And that's dope. You know, it gives people a checklist. I'd love to know what you think about the reward system. Like I said, I don't really play Grandmaster Nightfalls. I've just sort of been watching the conversation, and I thought I could make a video about that. I think that, you know, obviously Destiny's changing very rapidly. Lots of stuff is coming out in Beyond Light that might make this conversation pointless. Like, who knows if they're going to be changing all that stuff or not. But I do think that since Destiny has decided to become such a gear-focused game, more reliable reward paths, or at least keeping one reliable reward path open at the end of you know, the season for PvE. Hey, you're a completionist, we're going to reward your time. I think it's a solid way to guarantee that. I mean, at least for me, it would get me to start playing it. And maybe that's true for a lot of other people. Thanks for watching today, chat. YouTube chat. I appreciate you. I love your thoughts down below. Make sure to rate, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share this with somebody, and I'll talk to you next time. Peace.